for our agenda tonight. Just a couple of quick announcements, and then I'll talk about one of these. But upcoming lane and road closures are kind of going on all over the place. But East Norwalk, we have a bunch of them that are basically all over in East Norwalk, and we always urge you to sign up for the email notices going to walkbridgect.com. And you can be on the list to get the notices that go out generally on Fridays that will let you know about closures and detours, etc., so that you can keep up with that. And we're going to talk a little bit about those tonight with our guests. I just saw now, too, that I-95 northbound is going to have a lane closure the weekend of November 2nd through the 4th. You could follow that work on 95 for the Norwalk Westport area by going to the state's website called I-95NorwalkWestport.com. The reason why that's important is I think most folks realize that these closures are impacting kind of the whole central and eastern area of Norwalk when these closures happen. So we just want you to be aware of that, and you could follow that. And then in eastern Norwalk, our neighbors across the highway there, there's also some upcoming partial closures of George Street as well coming up in December, maybe sooner than that as well. So we'll get some information out to you and some detour routes as well. It looks like the city is basically just notifying residents in that area and the local businesses, but because of access to Tierney Street to the schools and also places like Stu Leonard's, it really does impact the whole community. So ENNA will post some detour maps and things probably this weekend on that, just as a heads up, and then keep you posted going forward. And then in events, just wanted to remind you of the Friends of Norwalk Dogs Halloween event going on at Taylor Farm this coming weekend on Sunday the 27th. East Norwalk neighborhood is co-sponsor of that event, and because we have a lot of folks who have dogs or love dogs and can participate in this from 3 to 5. For more information on that, you can go to norwalkdogs.org. And then finally, another item that we want to mention to you is there's at least one public hearing coming up that we want folks to participate in, if not to speak, but at least to observe. It's the latest rendition or update on the Charter Revision Commission, where they'll be revisiting the charter to continue to tweak it and make some improvements about how our government is, local government is set up and how government is managed here. And I'll show you a slide in a second. And then finally for tonight, we do have some guest speakers who asked to, if it would be good if they joined us again to give us some updates. And this is for the Walk Bridge project, which, as you know, is not just the Walk Bridge, it's also all the bridges and a lot of construction that's going on in the East Norwalk neighborhood. So we welcome this opportunity to hear what's going on that's new, and also that for an opportunity for you to give suggestions and comments, and also to ask some questions. Okay, so just quickly on the charter revision, just to let you know that public hearing is scheduled for October 29th at 6:30 p.m. It's hybrid in person, and you can also log in via Zoom. It's the first of 2 or 3 statutory public hearings, and it's the beginning of engagement with the community to get feedback from you on what you think that you might want to see updated and modified in the city's charter. We will be sending out some more information on this before the weekend, and but just wanted to make sure that it's on your calendars and you're aware, because this involves everything from elected officials to boards and commissions and public interaction and just about everything related to how the city government actually runs. And we can come back and answer some questions on this if we need to. But again, I'll get some information out in the emails. Okay, so and for tonight, we're welcoming our guests from WSP, USA, and also Connecticut DOT to give us an update on the Walk Bridge project, and have asked them to focus on the portions of this project that most impact East Norwalk proper, right in 06855. So the multiple bridges, also the road work, and the reconstruction of the East Norwalk train station and East Avenue. And I'll let Stephanie Pelletier do the introductions, but we do have the names up here of the folks from WSP, who are the public outreach consultants for the projects and project management, and then also from the DOT themselves. And they'll be turning over to do a, hang on, Stephanie, I'm stalling here. Yep. They'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation followed by our Q&A. Welcome, Stephanie Pelletier, and thank you again for taking the time to update us when you think it's necessary, and also for when you take the time to update it when we think we need it. So super appreciate your time this evening, and I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and turn over to you for introductions, and we'll go through the presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Diane. And good evening, everybody. My name is Stephanie Pelletier. I know some people on the call. I'm the public outreach consultant representing WSP. We are the engineering program firm for the state of Connecticut Department of Transportation. And we're going to be joined tonight for an update. We were last with you in February. Everyone is aware, if you're in East Norwalk, there is a lot of work going on. We're making great progress. I know it seems like we're making slow progress, but we're here with the experts tonight from our technical team. We'll be joined by Jeff Bird, who is our construction manager, and also by Emilio Flores, who is our transportation engineer from District 5 at the Department of Transportation, as well as RJ Lesso, who will be representing and speaking to us tonight about the projects in East Norwalk. Okay, so we'll jump right in and we'll talk about our agenda tonight, which is we're going to talk a bit about the Walk Bridge, which is our hero project spanning the Norwalk River. It is the major railroad bridge replacement project, and then we will touch on the things in East Norwalk that are important to your group tonight, including status on the advanced utility project on East Avenue, as well as the progress on both the bridges at Fort Point, Osborne Avenue, East Avenue, and the Strawberry Hill Avenue Railroad bridges, and the attendant roadway work beneath those bridges, as well as an update on the East Norwalk train station, which everyone has seen is undergoing a major renovation and replacement. And then we'll open up, for discussion. So hold your questions if you don't mind, and we can get right into the presentation with Jeff Bird, who's going to take us through an update on the Walk Bridge real quick. Jeff.
Sure. Thank you very much, Stephanie, and thank you, East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, for inviting us and allowing us to share a little bit of an update with the community. Just really quick, I know this isn't necessarily the meat and potatoes of this particular meeting, but just would love to give a brief update on the overall replacement project of the Walk Bridge. As you can see, we have some very recent photos. Work is ongoing in all four corners, basically, of the bridge itself. The nice pictures to the right are actually taken from the bottom of some of our sea camp pits, they're called. Basically, we're tunneling underneath the bridge to relocate some of the overhead wires that are on those high towers that you can see on the left. So that work is ongoing. The pits have been constructed, and we are currently drilling underneath, or tunneling underneath the river, as well as hopefully this week we'll actually place concrete in our first production drill shaft for the new bridge. So that's exciting. If you could possibly pop to the next screen, Steph. Yeah, and this is you probably have seen this, but this is a very quick and high level update of kind of where we're at in the overall life of the Walk Bridge project. Obviously, we're in 2024, and we are, like I said, we are continuing the microtunneling. We are constructing the piers, the substructure of the new bridge, as well as we are actually mobilizing and preparing at the Manresa site down on Manresa Island. So. Next year will pretty much be a continuation of what we're working on right now, and then I won't go through the whole year, but um, that's kind of in a nutshell what we're working on as far as the walk bridge. I know we're not going to take necessarily questions at the time, but if you do have any, you know where we are. I think everybody knows how to reach us. So if anybody has any questions, please let us know. And I believe at this point, I'll be turning it over to Emilio, I believe, to talk about the Advanced Utility Project.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emilio, and I am the project engineer for the Advanced Utility Project, or as we commonly refer to it, the AUP. The purpose of the AUP is to move all the utilities along East Ave and bring them underground. Once we do that, not only will it be more aesthetically pleasing in the neighborhood, it will allow us to widen the roads in the future, and then bring down the road underneath the Metro North Bridge, helping with the clearance issues under the bridge. So you see a lot of disruption, I know, and then it kind of all goes away. It's because all of the work for AUP is underground, so we have to open it up, get under there, move the utilities, and close it back up for the public the next morning. It's a little deceiving in the progress we're making, but we are approximately 3/4 of the way through and anticipate wrapping up in the fall of 2025. Speak to the detours. So Frontier is actually going to be closing the section of East Ave between Four Point and Winfield from the 2nd to the 12th. We are going to use a detour that we've utilized several times in the past with minimal impact. The station will remain open and pedestrian service will be maintained. Jeff, if we could go ahead, 2 more slides. 1 more, please. Yep, thank you. And so we will be utilizing, in response to some of the residents' concerns, we will be minimizing our use of full closures at night, and we're going to start using alternating one-way traffic. So you guys may have already seen the impacts of that, but please, we're welcome to your feedback on how that's working out. Just one of the ways in which we respond to your concerns. Jeff, we could go 1 more, please. There you go. And I will be turning it over to RJ, who is the project engineer for the Time 2 portion of the work in East Norwalk.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much for hosting us tonight. For those of you who were on February's meeting, I may look familiar. My name is RJ Lesso, and I work for the Connecticut Department of Transportation. I'm one of the project engineers on the Walk Bridge project. Tonight, I'll provide you with an update on some of the anticipated impacts of the work scheduled to occur over the next 6 to 12 or so months, and also share some of the work we've accomplished to date. I'm going to focus primarily on upcoming traffic impacts and other impacts to the public, such as those related to East Norwalk train station. Although I'm going to do my best to give you an exhaustive look ahead for traffic impact, I can't guarantee that going to be inclusive due to the highly dynamic nature of our schedule, but I'm going to do my best to be exhaustive here. So just to recap, here's a map that depicts the overall footprint of our Time 2 projects. Oh, could you go back? Thank you. This gives you an overview of the overall footprint of the Time 2 projects. A quick reminder, TIME is an acronym. It stands for Track Improvement, Mobility Enhancement, and with these projects, the department aims to replace aging railroad infrastructure and, as a result, increase the speed of the New Haven line and reduce trip durations. Time 2 refers specifically to the projects in East Norwalk, and they're being administered as part of the Walk Bridge program. If you could move to the next slide, thank you. So here you see a very high-level schedule overview for the Time 2 projects. Here, what I want to do is focus on some of the milestones you've probably already observed in 2024. Then in subsequent slides, I'm going to go over and discuss the upcoming work at each location. So to date, we've accomplished the demolition of the north half of the railroad bridge over Osborne Avenue, and we've also demolished the north half of the railroad bridge over East Avenue. You've probably noticed we've also demolished the north platform at East Norwalk Station. And on that note, we sincerely appreciate the community's patience as we did that. It took a lot of effort and coordination to ensure that we could get the proposed work completed in a tight 3-week closure window. The team here takes a lot of pride in the fact that we're able to accomplish that. And we really hope that some of our efforts that we implemented during that 3-week closure helped alleviate some of the impacts to the public, such as the commuter shuttle. If we could go to the next slide, please. So as promised, now I'll get into some of the work occurring at each of the locations in the next year or so. If you're subscribed to our construction alerts, or you may have simply observed some traffic impacts on the north side of the railroad bridge over 4 Point Street, you may have noticed that there are alternating one-way closures at night. The one-way closures are expected to continue through early 2025. This is related to the construction of the new bridge over the real and 4 Point Street, which includes these. Later in 2025, around May or so, you'll see some more nighttime closures associated with some underground utility work at that location. We can move on to Osborne. You've likely noted that Osborne Avenue under the railroad bridge is currently closed to vehicular traffic. That closure is expected to remain until spring of 2025, at which point it will reopen to traffic. And then it's expected to close again in the spring of 2026 to allow for the replacement of the south side of the bridge. The second closure is expected to be shorter in duration than the current ongoing closure. It's expected to last about 5 months. During all these closures, property access to all the adjacent properties and the safe passage of pedestrians is maintained via our pedestrian enclosure, which you can see pictured here on screen. And then we'll move on to Strawberry Hill Avenue. As you may already know, the closure of Strawberry Hill Avenue under the railroad bridge was approved in the Norwalk Traffic Authority's September 16th meeting. We have a total of 2 closures planned on Strawberry Hill Avenue. The first will begin in January and last until the fall of 2025. The second closure is expected in the summer of 2026, where just like at Osborne Avenue, the first closure will replace the north half of the bridge, and the second closure in the summer of 2026 will replace the south half. And then moving on to East Norwalk Station, like I mentioned previously, we've demolished the north platform and set up the construction staging area. Some of the existing parking stalls at the station are currently being utilized for construction. Commuters are directed to park at the additional parking lot that was constructed at 180 East Avenue. At this point, we've completed 2 of the anticipated 4 total 3-week closures at East Norwalk Station. The next 3-week closure is scheduled for fall of 2025. Upon the completion of that 3-week closure, the new platform is expected to be open to the public. Then we'll have one final 3-week closure scheduled to occur in 2027. We expect the inconvenience mitigation served during the first 2 closures. So at this time, we fully expect to continue our partnership with the city and continue running the commuter shuttle. And then I see here we've added some before and after renderings that were created for the project. Here you see 4 Point Street. We have the existing condition. This, which you've all grown very familiar with. And when we're completed, 4 Point Street will be realigned, and it will be widened. The existing bridge will be relocated. I'm sorry, the proposed bridge will be relocated to the west of the existing bridge, such that it will align with South Smith Street. And here you see our existing condition at East Avenue, juxtaposed with our final condition at East Avenue. You'll notice the roadway is widened to the station platforms. It's improved. And then you'll see some of our final East Avenue roadway improvements, what we expect it to look like at the end of our project. And some more photos for the East Avenue Bridge, which was pictured in the East Avenue station rendering. Here you see our final condition at East Avenue. Again, the street will be widened, better accommodations for bicycle traffic, better accommodations for pedestrians with sidewalks on each side of the bridge. Each of the sidewalks will be wider than the existing sidewalk. And some more renderings for East Norwalk train station. You see our existing condition, which again, you all know very well. And the proposed final condition. You'll notice on the north side of the platform here, we have our, I believe we call it the kiss and wave lane, a good place to drop off passengers. You see our improved ADA accommodations. We have ADA compliant ramps. The new platform will be heated. The covering is increased over the platform to keep passengers out of the rain. And again, some more photographs of the final condition.
With the platforms being longer as well to accommodate platforming of the train cars.
Yeah, good point, Stephanie. Yeah, it's an existing 4-car platform to be increased to a 6-car platform.
Okay. Thanks, RJ. That was a great wrap up of what we've been doing in the neighborhood, and just want to reiterate that your feedback is important to us, and taking care of the community is very important. It's a top priority. Safety, of course, is right up there. And the activities that we're conducting do require a partnership with the city of Norwalk, who we work with very closely, and also providing ongoing outreach to the community through our Welcome Center in Stono. You're welcome to come over. We're there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, pretty much there every day of the week, but come on over. You can email, call, clicker, or stop by, as we like to say, and then please sign up for our newsletters. We also send out targeted outreach newsletters when we have specific things going on in your neighborhood. So with all that said, we'd love to take your questions. Diane, are you going to moderate?
Yeah, just an echo coming through on that. So I think it would be helpful, Stephanie, because we want to get as many questions, comments, and suggestions in as we can. If you can leave this up here, because we kind of flew through these, and we may need to refer back
Sure.
To answer specific questions. So if that's not cumbersome, I think that would be a good idea for folks. Typically what we do is we kind of try to alternate back and forth between Charles, tell me if this still works for you. We'll go back and forth between chat and raised hands, and I think that's the best way to do it. And
okay, sure.
Which one?
Okay, we have 2 raised hands. I'm going to ask Alex Knopf to unmute.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Thank
Evening,
you.
Alex.
Good evening, Dave. Thank you for organizing this and for the folks from the project for coming. So 3 quick questions, if I could. One of the problems we have in East Norwalk is that there's a lot of work going on and very few entrance and access and exit points. So could you discuss, please, your coordination with the city, DPW, and other departments to make sure that the routes that you leave open are not being closed at the same time by projects from other departments in the city. And I'm particularly concerned about the sewer project on Seaview Avenue. If you drive on Seaview now, you'll see the entire length of Seaview. There's a series of plastic uh, tubes and pipes along the entire length of Vets Park. So when those start being installed, what happens to the overall traffic mobility within East Norwalk from the impact of all of these projects being done simultaneously?
And I'll add to
RJ,
that too, if you
sorry.
could address in the same thing too, then Stephanie, the issue of the, I know you can't, it's not part of you, but the Eversource utility, because that's also impacting Seaview. So maybe get
Sure.
both of those.
Let's talk about the coordination with the city. RJ or Amelia, do you want to chime in on that?
Sure, I can touch on that. We meet with the city weekly at a minimum. We discuss the traffic impacts, the proposed detours. All of our detour plans are reviewed by the city. And like I said, we meet with them weekly where we discuss other projects that may not be on our radar, projects that aren't administered by us, city projects. Like I heard you reference a sewer project. I can't comment specifically on that project because we're not involved with that, but the city does oversee all the closures. And their goal, not to speak for the city, is to ensure mobility through East Norwalk, despite all the construction work happening.
I have to say, as former mayor of Norwalk, I'm not satisfied that the mobility is being maintained. And the same thing happened when the bridge was burned and collapsed over I-95. The rerouting of traffic after that first day was horrible. And there were not enough police, there were not enough changes to existing projects. So I'm glad you consult with the city, but that's not my question. The question is, what will you and the city be doing to make sure traffic is flowing? Consulting is a matter of input, but traffic mobility, police on the corners, that's a matter of outputs. And at the moment, I don't see sufficient attention to the outputs that are being put in place.
Well, I can certainly tell you, as we all know here, construction is disruptive, and I can certainly appreciate that. What I can say is we do our best to mitigate it. When there are issues with traffic, when we see long queue lengths and large delays, we do what we can to mitigate those.
Well, I hope that you will impress upon the city the need to have real-time reaction by the police and the traffic and mobility department to keep traffic flowing. It's been a huge problem. There's construction on Cemetery Road, so that block's going off sometimes into South Norwalk. There's the sewer work on Seaview Avenue. There's the closing of the East Avenue Bridge on East Avenue. It's just sometimes impossible to get in and out of East Norwalk. So I hope you'll give it a higher level of attention. Now, my second question is, will there be a realignment between the exit from the East Norwalk station and the temporary construction lot that you have on the other side of East Avenue? When I was mayor, we had talked about trying to align Fort Point and the exit from the East Norwalk station, perhaps with a light, to make sure that there wasn't this odd jiggering going on. Could you discuss that, please?
Amelia, do you want to take this one? That work's happening
Yeah,
under
happily.
Amelia's project.
That work is underneath the purview of the Advanced Utility Project, Mr. Knopp. And we stole your idea. We are, in fact,
Good.
aligning 4 Point with the entrance to what used to be the White House there that's owned by TTD. So that driveway will come out through there. And not only will there be a signalization there, that signalization will work in conjunction with the other signals on 4 Point, acting as one big computer, one big traffic analysis as the cars are coming and going through that intersection. So
No, that's great to hear.
significant
Great.
improvement.
And my last question is, what's going to be the long-term use of the temporary construction lot that you have at the East Avenue Bridge on the north side?
Commuter parking, I believe.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
it will be part of the East Norwalk terrain parking lot kind of complex?
That's my understanding right now. I can't speak to whether that's finalized. That's our intention at this point in time.
Good, thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you, Diane.
Welcome.
Thanks, Alex. Then to chat.
Okay,
Charles?
yes, Becca had a few questions in there, but best she speaks to them herself because she had more questions to ask. So I'm going to ask her to unmute. Hi, Becca.
Hi. My first question actually dovetails pretty well with Mr. Knops because I'm wondering the same thing about how the construction projects can better accommodate the continued flow of pedestrian and bicycle traffic. You know, for example, on Seaview, where Mr. Knott mentioned, it's really treacherous coming over the drawbridge right now with the bike lane shift when there's that big hole in the ground. I mentioned specifically in the chat that walking that temporary sidewalk or the protected sidewalk that's under the current East Avenue bridge is pretty treacherous at night during the construction. And as someone who frequently commutes off peak and arrives back here after dark, that's a great concern to me because sometimes, for example, trains that arrive after midnight from New York come in on the northbound side. And those of us who live on the southbound side or park on the southbound side need to get back over there safely. That dovetails. So I guess, yeah, I'll ask that and then I'll come back for more.
Sure. That would be under my purview on the AUP project. And Becca, now I noticed here that you said maybe it could be addressed during the Frontier closure. That's something that I'm going to address this week. We'll get out there. We'll take a look at it. If there's some treacherous conditions, we want to address it right away. And if it's not resolved to your satisfaction in the next couple of weeks, please feel free to reach out to the walk office and we'll find out exactly what your concerns are. But that repairing that sidewalk is not a problem.
Super appreciate that. I guess just making sure that it's on your mind that those of us who are walking and biking to the station need to be accommodated too.
Absolutely.
As far as
yep.
As far as the shuttle, I just mentioned, I often get back to Norwalk at or around midnight. So that weekday commuter shuttle does nothing for me. And I'm wondering if there's more that can be done to accommodate in the future station closures, those of us who need to get to South Norwalk and are not park and riders, people who walk to the station, whether it's a partnership with Wheels to You or offering like more limited shuttle service at night, but something, parking vouchers even, although obviously not everyone has a car, but just I wanted to flag that and really make sure it's brought to your attention because it's really not fun getting to South Norwalk at midnight in the cold and having to call a $10 Uber.
Yes, the next station closure will be happening underneath the F package, but we can absolutely evaluate the use of some type of additional transportation in the evenings. It's tough to quantify the amount of riders we have in the evening, but we're ready and open to listen to any type of feedback you have.
Yeah, I've been trying to count. I've been trying to sort of get other people's attention and be like, hey, is your commute seriously disrupted? Like, talk to me about what you're experiencing because here's what I'm experiencing. And then I think my last thing was, obviously the renderings are just renderings, but I wanted to know, is there plans to put a separate bike lane on East Avenue? Because in the renderings, there's just sort of the bike indicators. And lastly, where is the bus going to stop in the new station design?
So for your first question, for a dedicated bike lane, no, you probably notice in the rendering, there are proposed sharrows. As a result, primarily of widening the roads, the bicycle safety is improved. We don't have dedicated bicycle lanes in that location. You probably saw the sharrows. I think that's what you're referencing. It is.
I would like to really encourage you to reconsider that because if you're adding 2 lanes of vehicle traffic, that's going to encourage higher vehicle speed and actually sort of not go with this sort of complete streets vibe that Norwalk's going for. And there's definitely room in the new design for a bike lane. And if you're going to be encouraging more people to walk and bike to the train station, I think that's worth looking into.
Okay, yeah, well taken. Let me discuss with our designers. I'm not involved with the design, but I'll discuss with our designers and see some of the considerations and see if that's something that would be possible.
Great. I mean, I think it ties in nicely. There's this whole East Avenue corridor study going on about how we make it safer and more multimodal, and this dovetails into that. And then my last question was, where's the bus going to stop?
I think, right here, whoever pulled this up, thank you, Stephanie, probably. You can probably see our bus shelter. right at the
Uh-huh.
station here.
So it'll still be on the street. It's not going to pull in.
No, it's
Okay.
not.
And there's not really but it's in, I see it on the left drawing where there's that sort of island area so that it won't be in, there won't be like people trying to like go around it, hopefully.
Right. It's going to be a dedicated separate bus shelter.
That is super. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all my questions for now.
Thank you, Becca.
Okay, next up is Josh Green. Hi, Josh.
Hi, thank you for doing all this. I'm a commuter, and having an improved train station is really going to make a huge difference. I have two questions for you about the construction process as we get to the final end goal. First is there a way to improve the southbound? And by the way, I think in your presentation you mentioned that the northbound is the site that's currently down, but is the southbound? Is there a way to improve the southbound parking lot during the construction period? Because as it is right now, separate from some of the other questions that people have put in the chat, there's not enough room for a car to turn around when, even just ignoring the construction trucks, when the cars are parked in the parking lot and there are no more parking lot spaces, which is fine. If you're just getting dropped off, you can't safely turn around in there. So when I'm fortunate enough to get dropped off every time, and it's a disaster trying to watch the cars pull in during the peak hours when there are no parking spots and no space for them to safely turn around. So they come dangerously close to hitting other pedestrians or other cars as they try to make their U-turn in the lot. My second question is also on that southbound side. The ramps to get to the platform, I think they're all ADA compliant. Is a way to either convert one or add one that is not? Just because as a commuter who can sometimes be running to a train that's pulling in, you are running through a zigzag maze to get to the platform, and it would be much quicker, I would imagine, for people who don't require ADA to just go straight up 3 or 4 stairs to get to the platform, as we used to have it with the old station, and not have them wind up a long, sort of a velvet ropey type windy pathway of left, walk down 50 feet, then right, then walk down 50 feet, then walk down 50 another feet on the right side again, and then you can turn left and get to the train. So if there's a way to adjust that, that would really be helpful for those of us who don't necessarily need the ADA compliant, they're just trying to get to the platform.
Yeah, so I thank you for your question. I think that the answer to your first question and your second question are very similar. So your first question about cars turning around, the reason that the fence is in the location that it's in is because we're constructing our permanent platform right there, right up against the fence. What we can do is see if we can have the contractor pull that fence back maybe a few feet, but really the contractor is constructing his foundations right over there on the other side of that fence for the proposed platform. So like I said, I'm going to see if we can have the contractor pull that fence a few feet back. We're going to have to look at the proposed work in that location to make sure it won't conflict with the proposed work. And then to answer your second question about the ramps, you're exactly right. Yeah, the ramps are the way that they are, such to be ADA compliant. They are carefully planned, the location of that ramps, to not interfere with the proposed construction so that we can build the permanent platform around the ramps and the locations that they're in. I certainly appreciate that they are not the most convenient, especially for commuters in a rush. It would be very difficult to put a staircase in and not have it conflict with one of the proposed foundations. We can look into it. I don't think it's going to be possible over there. We may have better luck when we when we build the temporary platform on the other side. We may be able to accommodate a staircase in that location. But I will do my due diligence and I will look into it.
Okay, thank you. And for the drop-off part, I see, just because you have this slide up, for the new proposal, when it's done, you have that sort of wave goodbye thing that you right there exactly. I know that it's hard, but is there a way to maybe paint some lines or do something to allow the cars that are just dropping people off to have a pattern or a rhythm? Because right now, during peak hours, it really is a complete free-for-all with no one monitoring who's coming in, who's going out, who's pulling a U-turn where, and you end up with just a sea of cars at weird angles trying to figure out how to best maneuver to get in and out.
So you're talking about for our final proposed station as pictured here, is there a way to better allow cars to get around the KISS
No,
and
no, I'm
KISS and
talking
wave, KISS and ride?
now. I'm talking about right now with the under construction part, because you've taken the top side of parking away, and there's that fence there, which I get you're going to try to move a little bit further forward away as well. But in addition to that, if there's a way that there can be someone there, at least for a few days, to help guide commuters, it really is a free-for-all today during the construction site of during peak hour when the parking spots that exist are full. It is impossible to have a car pull in and pull out and not spend an exorbitant amount of time doing 15-point turns and hoping you don't run into a pedestrian or another car as you try to drop someone off and come back. And as I see in the chats, Becca, Sean, and Kathleen are all saying the same thing. That peak hour drop-off is a nightmare right now, and there isn't enough room in there with the existing parking that you've allowed to have cars successfully, safely drive in, turn around, drop somebody off, and pull back out. There just isn't room.
Yeah, so I really do appreciate all this feedback. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I'm going to see what we can do this week. What's today? Tuesday, Monday. We'll probably be able to meet out there this week and see if we can approve those conditions, because it sounds like a real issue, and it sounds like you're not the only one with these issues, and we really want to, like I said, minimize this disruption. So I'm going to meet out there with some of my colleagues this week and see if we can improve that. I don't want you to think these are falling on deaf ears, but I can't make any promises right now before we get out there and thoroughly evaluate the condition.
Perfect. Thank you. And then one last question, I guess, is I know this was probably in your presentation, but I may have missed it. For how long do you expect the current southbound construction to be there before it can be reopened up?
So the final platform will open in October of 25, so about a year.
Okay.
Almost exactly a year from today, actually. It's scheduled for October 24th of 25. The north platform, which of course southbound, is planned to be opened.
Okay. Thank you.
For what it's worth, just to chime in real quick, is there is a method to the work madness, because we're dealing with track outages that are planned years in advance with Metro North in order to conduct the work that's needed up at the track level. And this is required to enable the trains to continuously run, including Amtrak and the freight trains, in addition to these, the Metro North trains. So you've probably seen that the tracks are missing over the Osborne Avenue Bridge on the westbound side, right? And you probably have seen that we switch trains as we enter into the East Norwalk train station if you're coming from New Haven, in the interlocking that we had spent a couple years getting ready so that we could switch tracks while these tracks are taken out of service. So short of an engineering, class on how we build a railroad and how we replace railroad bridges, they're a little different than roadway bridges, and they're a little different than a fixed bridge like the Yankee Doodle Bridge, and they're different than the roadway movable bridge that the Straffolino is. So we're dealing with a lot of different bridges, and as you can imagine, discovering things that were there from the 1890s when the bridges were built, and learning, what's the safest way to, proceed with our massive construction project. So again, the feedback is key. And info@walkbridgect.com is the best way to get in touch with the program. Becca, I know you've sent us many emails. We've been diligent in our response. And we do hear from people. Diane, you can always call. And we are, here for the community and want to be responsive. Not everything is fixable in the immediate term, but certainly making your commute better and improving that reliability is the top goal. And believe it or not, we don't want to be here any longer than we have to either. So a lot of times what you're seeing is what we call multiple concurrent operations. We're digging up streets and sidewalks, but we're also up top on the railroad because that's when we can run the conduit. That's when we can put in an electric vault. That's when we can put in a signal box. So while it may look chaotic as you're trying to navigate those important rush hours and catch trains and pick up kids and all those important things that make life so wonderful in Norwalk, we're not here to ruin it. We're not here to make life worse. We are in lockstep with the Complete Streets folks and with our collaborators at the city level beyond just the meetings that, RJ touched on. I think we probably talk to the city every day, on one thing or another, and are always analyzing traffic patterns and, of course, working in lockstep with the Norwalk Police Department, with whom we could not have this project be operating, and also having the approvals going through the proper commissions and authorities. So there's a lot going on with this project. You're going to see a lot more because right now all of this work is being done, as we say, on the north side of your bridges in East Norwalk. We will then be progressing to the south side. So we can't do it all at the same time. We would have to shut the entire city down to be able to do that. So that's just not possible to do. The other thing that's really important is we work in lockstep with EMS, the fire department, and the police, ensuring that safe routes are always maintained. That is also the top priority. And the engineering that goes into coming up with the maintenance and protection of traffic plans is bar none within the talent that we have at the state level in our engineering team to make sure it's not just a willy-nilly pattern. These go through many, many different algorithms before they even get into a state that we can get them before the community. So again, we are so thankful for your patience and continued understanding, and also following the patterns and using the pedestrian sheds. We're well aware. I'm a commuter too. I get off at the East Norwalk train station. I take it and I walk that route. So we're totally in the same understanding pattern of how to make things safe for the community and the commuters. Are there any other
Thanks,
questions?
Stephanie, can I add one? I'm sorry. Can I add
go
one thing
ahead.
to what you said? I really love to hear the feedback, and it's great to hear. The one thing that's difficult is for me to give you any we can definitely fix that in this form. It's difficult because I really need to consult my team of engineers to do that. The best way to provide feedback is by sending an email to the Welcome Center with Stephanie, because that email will find its way to my desk and I'll be able to properly evaluate it. So I'm noting everything you guys are telling me, and they all sound like great ideas and things that we can improve upon. The best way to really give us your feedback is to send us an email. I promise you, an engineer will review your request.
Thank you for that. Yep.
Yeah.
And just to remind folks, it's info@walkbridgect.com. And they are very responsive. So it is a good point for everything, even you're bringing up here, if you could follow up with an actual email, just so there's a record of it and they can kind of prioritize these things. I think we have a couple of more chat comments. Charles, I don't know if there's other hands raised.
And could I just ask one or two of my own in regard, since we had Josh's comments about the station. Is there any reason why there's no protection for riders for the upcoming cold weather as far as snow protection or rain protection? There's no covered areas on that platform.
The answer is just a matter of complexity and cost. It adds a whole nother layer of complexity when you add a canopy onto the stage, because it's not something you can simply mount like you might on your deck at home. It needs to be mounted onto deep concrete foundations to withstand wind load. And given the temporary, and I know that it's going to be there for longer than a year, but given the temporary nature of the platform, it was determined to not be the value was determined to not be great enough.
Okay, but the long and winding ramp up, aren't you concerned with some safety issues with ice building up there and slips and falls?
We certainly are. We inspect the platform on a daily basis, which is going to be especially important as temperatures start to drop. But we inspect the platform on a daily basis for snow and ice hazards and any other hazards that might arise. As far as the safety of the ramps are in fact built that way for safety. We couldn't legally open the platform if they weren't built in the way that they were built, such as, in compliance with ADA codes.
Okay.
Richard, can I just jump into Charles? I just want to say I think there needs to be some reconsideration of a canopy or coverage there. Just to simply say that given the temporary nature of this, that the cost may not be or maybe prohibitive in your mind. I think for commuters who are there, if we believe the Metro North numbers, this is one of the most heavily used neighborhood commuter lots in the state, perhaps. So with winter coming in, it's not just winter, it's rain and everything else. I'm sure that the engineers could come up with a solution that makes a balance between the economical reality of it, but the fact is something's got to be done. So I think that needs to go back on the table, Richard, and if I need to, I'll send it in from ENNA if I need to. But I also share the same concern with the zigzag ramp. Kudos on ADA, but I think I think it was Josh's point. There needs to be alternative access because nobody's going to be flying, hurdles. I hope, doing hurdles trying to get through there.
Right, and there are 2 ramps, so I don't know why we need 2 ADA compliant ramps. Why don't we just have one and one short one?
The code requires 2 compliant ramps, but your concerns are definitely noted, and they will be followed up on.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
we'll add some of this stuff in too for our next friendly meeting too, so that we know that then people are hearing it all together versus just responses to individual folks as well.
Okay, there was a question in the chat about the Strawberry Hill Bridge. Why does the full bridge need to be closed from January to fall? Can it be opened in one direction instead of fully closed for 10 months?
And I want to say that too, that this is also important because as Stephanie has told us before, this was, I don't want to call it an afterthought, Stephanie, but it was certainly an add-on to where we all started with this. So I think now to have that bridge involved at all is one thing, and now to see the complete closure for that time frame is a concern. And it's still technically part of, safe route to school for Strawberry Hill. So yeah, if you could address that, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So Strawberry Hill Avenue was identified as being objectively a less critical transportation link as far as all the roads that we're working on, which is why it's closed for a longer period of time. As far as safe routes to school, we do coordinate with the schools to make sure that buses are still able to run given our disruptions that we're causing in the community. And also I want to note that Strawberry Hill Avenue will be open to pedestrian traffic, just like you see at Osborne Avenue during construction.
Well, I think so too, that then the more that you're forcing the vehicular traffic over to the other routes, which are already having some, intermittent lane closures and other, stuff going on. When you're saying you're coordinating each piece and there's algorithms to control how you're managing where you're sending the flow. I know you probably have traffic counts there, but I'm tending to think that that's probably going to have a greater impact than maybe you folks are anticipating. And I don't think you can turn on a dime to going from closure to alternate. So if now is the time to revisit that, then that may be a good idea if it's possible.
The team will definitely review it. We have a team of traffic engineers. We will definitely review it.
Thanks.
I think we have
All right,
time
Charles,
for.
we have hands up or chat?
Yes,
still?
Becca has her hand up again. Go
Hi,
ahead, Becca.
just really quickly to add on to the safe routes to school discussion, and with Strawberry Hill and Osborne Avenue, it's great that pedestrian traffic is being maintained. Is there any way that bicycles can be allowed through?
Bicycles will certainly be allowed through.
They're not currently allowed on Osborne. I tried to bike it last night.
You have to
And-
walk your bike through the ped shed, Becca.
Great, I'll do that. It's a little tight, but I'll do that. Especially because Strawberry Hill does have a full bike lane, and that way the bikes can stay on that instead of being diverted with the cars, which then adds more mess.
No, the ped sheds are designed for bike riders, scooter riders, skateboarders to dismount and walk said alternate mode through the
Fantastic.
ped shed and then exit on the other side.
Really quickly, in this image that we have up, where are pedestrian crosswalks going to be once we're redesigned here?
You can actually see the pedestrian crosswalk in this picture on the left.
Oh, super. I was looking for stripes and I didn't see. I assume there will be big, bold, watch for peds stripes.
You know something, to be honest with you, I don't know the exact final design, but there are many different designs for crosswalk, as I'm sure that you've seen just out and about in your day-to-day life. And I'm not entirely sure what our
something
final...
abundantly clear would be lovely.
These are
And
renderings.
that'll be nice too, because right now it's really treacherous crossing that point that you were just mousing over, because it's sort of like the place where pedestrians want to cross isn't where the crosswalk is. Cars don't know to stop. Like, this signal stuff is going to make a world of difference. It is appreciated.
Agreed. I cross there regularly to go perform work at the station. It is a treacherous crossing, even in my reflective gear.
Yeah.
I think we have time for. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay. I hope you can stay on for a couple more people to raise their hands here. Stephanie, I really appreciate it because we don't meet that often. But
I just want to be mindful of our time here, Diane.
I'm going to ask. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Two of my dumb questions. So, whatever became of the proposed elevator, and also the original plans were looking to have pedestrian crossovers where you didn't have to cross East Avenue. So those just never made the final cut, or they were in there and came out, because every time we're seeing something, it's conceptual. So why are we still having to come down and cross East Avenue to go north southbound? And where is there still an elevator somewhere, or that's now gone?
So the proposed platform does go over East Avenue, and there are stairs on each side, right on each side of East Avenue. So you have your crosswalk here, then you can also use the platform to get over East Avenue. As far as the proposed elevator, that's part of the TOD agreement. The TOD agreement is currently ongoing. I have no direct involvement with the TOD agreement whatsoever. I'm a construction engineer, so I'm not involved in planning or design. I can tell you what I know. The last I've heard is that negotiations are ongoing with the developer.
Okay, so the elevator is still linked to the developer from 230 East Avenue, which then is also the other question, because part of that agreement was to have a kind of a station shop on that side as a freestanding building for either newspapers or coffee or something, and that hasn't seemed to materialize in near time frame. So I guess that's part of the TOD negotiation as well. But my other dumb question was,
no such thing.
Where is the station on the southbound side of the new station? Is there not an actual physical structure like the red house? And
no.
And can somebody tell me again? This is my dumb. I'm not a commuter question, but why is that?
Why don't we have a station house?
Yeah,
it's not part of the design, but there are ticket kiosks.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ticket kiosks, the pay stations.
And so those are exposed on the platform, or where are those then?
We'll have ticket vending machines on the platform, yes.
On the uncovered platform. So there's no shelter and there's no station house.
There will be canopies. Go ahead, RJ.
Yeah, the proposed platform does have canopies.
In the final one.
In the final configuration, yes.
Okay.
You can see that, Diane, on both renderings.
Okay.
Right.
And then, so with all of these things, Stephanie, do the conceptual drawings ever actually get to an actual final design drawing, like everything to scale in the actual final? Because we're still at conceptual even as things are moving. Or is that just the matter of semantics of what these are called? when you call these conceptual drawings, are these actually the end result, or they're
I
work
would
in
suspect
progress?
I would suspect, well, they're conceptual renderings, right?
Mhm.
And to the comments, for example, that we've heard tonight about making this a clear pattern, hatching out crosswalks, that's why these are conceptual right now. So those design considerations will be, I would imagine, either laid in a final drawing. I'm not sure what stage that comes in, but as we get those items available, we would absolutely share on our website and our socials and with the community. But this is the essential idea of the new station on both the north side,
Mhm.
with the new aligned driveway, the signalization, the bus shelter, the widened sidewalk, street, as well as the canopied platforms.
All right, and if folks do, or you think of something afterwards, or you have something now, you can send it into ENNA, but the quickest response is going to be coming, communicating directly with Walkbridge. The site is walkbridgect.com, and the email is info@walkbridgect, to get your questions in directly to those folks. And I want to thank you again for coming in, taking the time. And when the time is appropriate, when it seems likely to be some stuff that you think the community should know, or you want some feedback on, you're welcome anytime. And if we see some time has gone by and we'd like just a quickie update and some more feedback, we'll certainly invite you.
Always welcome, and thank you for hosting
Thanks.
our team tonight. It's great to reach out, and we always like talking with the community, and most importantly, listening. So you've been heard, and we do diligence on everything that we do here. In fact, RJ doesn't even have to wait to see emails that come in because I just go right upstairs and I give it to him. So we're all in the same building down in Sono, and we're all working together. We're all there full time, working as a team. And you probably see us out and about in the community. I'm sure y'all have seen me at the commuter shuttle. And so make sure you do say hi and introduce yourselves because we're part of the community too.
Great. Thanks, Stephanie.
All right, everybody.
RJ, Jeff, Emilio, Rory, thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yep.
Good night. Yeah,
Have a great night, everybody.
You're welcome to stay on, by the way, if you want. So we're just going to go through the, actually, I don't know that I had anything else on there. So hang on one second.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Stephanie. You too.
Bye-bye.
So we'll just go ahead and open it up then to regular East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything, if there's any new business that you're looking to add to our upcoming agendas.
Okay, I had a question real quick.
Yeah.
Do you have any updates on the tunneling of the Eversource lines under the docks?
Yep, only that work is beginning, and that's where you see work going on near the entrance to Veterans Memorial Park coming from Sono, and also over at Seaview. I think people are already aware that that project was approved and went through as many possible opportunities we had to get them to reconfigure, not doing those lines there under the visitor docks and coming through the side of the park. But the project is approved, and it's my understanding that some of that digging you already see there is Eversource. I don't have a timeline on that, but I can get a timeline on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we did fly through some of those before and after renderings, and they did throw those together for us quickly. For me, and I think a lot of you guys, I'm really visual. It's, I can see all these kind of drawings and stuff, but when I actually see the renditions, it helps to understand what this project could end up looking like, bearing in mind that there's a whole aspect of this that's really tied more to the city, even though the state is funding it. And because we've had a lot of people asking, like, what is East Avenue actually going to look like? And we'll continue trying to get some more aesthetics on what that result will be. And I'll also speak to the issue too. I think Becca is still on. About the question about, it goes back many years, the discussion about whether or not East Avenue could A, accommodate bike lanes, and B, whether we actually wanted bike lanes on East Avenue due to the nature of the traffic. And I think it had been more of a consideration prior to the DOT forcing the city to go to a 14-foot span on the East Avenue Bridge, because that allows for a significant increase in truck traffic. Having said that, though, what the guys didn't mention is that because of the way they're doing the lanes, there's actually some lane reduction now, cutting over to 4 lanes. So depending on how this final design comes out with the curbs and the lanes, we would expect to have at least a possible slight decrease in the speed versus what you see on East Avenue, the other side of East Avenue, like over by City Hall, where everything is flying through it, 50 miles an hour. But I was concerned, though, about, I think that I saw, and maybe one of you guys can answer this, but the rendition that they had up coming from on East Avenue under the bridge going north, like heading towards a highway, did they show that as a left-hand turn only onto Fort Point? Or were those two continuing? Maybe I can actually bring that up, but anyway, I'm not quite sure what that does to help with throughput if only one lane is still coming through. If the idea is to have a steady, safe flow of traffic and not the gridlock, and to also time all the lights together, I'm not sure, what that turn would be there. Alex Knopp, you have your hand up. Is not? I think you have to unmute there.
Yeah, what exactly is that project on Seaview with the plastic piping?
I don't know if that's part of Eversource or if that's still part of Burns with the natural gas, or if that's something to do with sewer. I'd have to take a look at that. But if it's starting from like the corner of Fort Point and going in, but you're saying it's running the whole length.
Yes.
I think, Charles, do you know which one that is? Is that gas or is that sewer?
It's hard to say because some of them are very.
First District Water was out and about too.
Yeah, there's some very large round cylinder things that look like they could be for Eversource.
Yeah, my sense is if it's closer to the beginning coming over from Sono, because I know that work is ongoing now, that's probably Eversource. But I'd have to find out, Alex.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be more than one. But if that's something that you're seeing relatively recent, then that I have to assume it's Eversource. Okay. All right. So I'll throw some stuff out via email. I'm definitely going to encourage people, like I said, to get involved with charter revision. I think ENNA, we're probably going to issue some of our wish list as a formal position statement for some things that didn't make the cut in the last charter revision that we think the city should reconsider. And we'll be discussing that as the board. And then if that's the case, we will present the list first to the East Norwalk community and get some feedback on it to see if you want things in there or taken out, or some stuff added in, and what your thoughts are on that. And we're looking to try to do that before this October 29th public hearing. But another thing that I should note is the way the Charter Revision Commission works is that they actually take public feedback through their entire process. That slide that I put up there was just the first phase of it that goes from now, I believe, until December. And then there's another phase that goes through May, and then the final phase that goes through the ballot process next November. But they will continue to take feedback at all the intervals, and the email so that it gets into the full commission is on the city's website. And if I haven't already posted that, I'll post that as well. Okie dokie. So thank you all very much. Our next meeting, I think, is November 18th, but you can always reach out in the meantime. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting and stop the recording, but I will stay on for a few minutes if anybody has something to chat about online. Charles, thanks for co-piloting.
Thank you.